Hey friends, it's rskt and welcome back to part 2 of this Moho tips, tricks and rambling series that I'm doing. If you didn't check out part 1 of the series already, I'll leave a link to that down below in the description. Basically all we're doing in this series is just looking at different tips and tricks that I've picked up in Moho along the way and exploring some new different techniques to help inspire you to sort of go about rigging your own characters. So without any further ado, let's just jump straight into the video. Okay, so here's another animation that I created not too long ago. It's going to be a little bit jumpy with the line boil, but yeah, we got this guy. He walks up, sees something in the distance, snaps a photo of it, and then keeps on walking. So there's a lot going on here. I'll just quickly open up the final thing. So it's a little bit less choppy and that you can see what's going on. And yeah, again, this is another animation, of course, that could have benefited from that stroke thing that we were going over before. But the main reason that I'm bringing this up today is because I want to talk a little bit about this rig. And one big problem I faced when making it, I found the solution for it ages after I finished it and posted it to my Instagram. But either way, we're going to have a look at it and look at some different ways that we could have approached it. So I'm going to click on the man's bone layer here. And I'll just make sure that we can see our bones. And let's quickly do a little bit of a rig overview, just for those who are curious. Maybe I'll hide the foreground and background grass, and we'll hide the particles too. So yeah, this is basically it. He doesn't even have any legs, but we'll start there. So yeah, we've got this control bones for his legs walking, which I could have drawn the rest of them, but instead I just decided to be lazy and hide them with grass. We've got this to rotate his legs. So this sort of helps give us a little bit of a body turn. We've got the root bone here, which yeah, helps him move up and down and make sure that his legs stay planted onto the ground with those control bones. Further up, we've got this body rotation, which actually took a little bit to put together. It's not a huge rotation, but it's just enough to sort of sell the illusion. And yeah, we can sort of like twist and move his body around and whatnot. We've got his neck that moves up and down, and his hoodie sort of goes with it a little bit. Head goes up and down. And then finally, we've got this head rotation, which just helps him look to the front. And through a little bit of trickery, we'll see like the stroke helps define his nose shape. And then as he turns further, his nose is in front, that eyebrow disappears, or that hair disappears before his nose finally swaps sides to his face. And it really gives the illusion that his head is a little bit more 3D than it actually is. So this head turn was actually pretty fun to put together, and I think I might be going over a head turn thing a little bit later on in this video. But the main thing I wanted to focus on right now were these hands and this camera. So these are all sort of broken up onto separate layers. And what I wound up doing, I needed his arms to be able to walk up holding this camera and then lift them up. And you'll notice that these camera straps are sort of moving with it. They're not great. And, you know, it's a little bit messy of a sketch anyway. But yeah, so I tried doing this a few different ways. I tried rigging the arms separately and then using a control bone to sort of control them. So if we grab this control bone, we can move them up and down. And yeah, you'll see that this is actually also moving these camera straps. You can sort of bring them up and forward. It's very messy and not great, but ideally what I wanted to happen was I wanted this strap and all of these straps to be a little bit more dynamic and actually behave like real straps that were sort of, you know, flopping around in the wind. And like, I don't like the fact that when he tilts this camera down, this whole strap at the back of this arm, maybe I'll just quickly hide that arm. Yeah, cool. Yeah. This strap is rubbish. Like, you know, straps don't move like that. It shouldn't be so stiff. I don't really like how that came together. But either way, I mean, I still went ahead and completed the animation and tried my best to kind of hide it so that you barely notice. You just sort of it's got a little bit of bone dynamics, so I did wind up rigging that. And yeah, you can see as he moves it up, it's kind of flapping around in the wind. But yeah, I really had to hide it. And the thing that annoyed me is I actually spent a long time experimenting with different rigging techniques and whatnot to try and get these ropes behaving the same way, because something about having enough control over them, but also making sure both ends are parented to something turns out to be actually quite tricky. So fortunately, I watched a few live webinars with Moho, and let's look at this basic rope. So this is like one of the pre-built characters that comes with Moho, and this isn't great, but this is kind of a test. So I just put a little box off to the side here, and in the body layer on this layer 8 here, I've just drawn a stroke. So it's just a simple plain stroke, but this is in his body layer so that it is moving with his body. So if we press play, yeah, we can see that the pre-built animation has this guy jumping around. Now, this isn't great by any means, but the fact of the matter is that we've got one end of the rope parented to or stuck to a separate object, and the other end of the rope is stuck to the character. And what we can actually do from here is, if we maybe find a different position. Okay, so he's pulling the rope up here. So what we can do is select the bone layer, manipulate bone tool, and we can actually move this middle control bone around. So maybe when it's down here, we want it to be sort of down. This is not great. It's not the best way to sort of go about things, but it kind of helps sell the illusion, I guess, like a little bit more. Maybe I want that moving up a little bit after. But yeah, I mean, I think you get the idea. So, and I suppose let's just quickly delete those, and we'll just look at how this is set up. So on this layer 8, if I select the bind points, we can see that, yeah, this stroke is just made up of 3 points. This one is bound to his hand bone. This one is bound to this middle control bone. And this one is bound to the purple bone. And you could throw in more control bones if you wanted. It kind of, I think this is particularly useful, especially for like really elastic things, and where you've got to have characters maybe pulling something that's elasticy. I mean, this wouldn't even have to be a rope. You could make that, like a snake or somebody's neck or something like that. But the general gist is like, yeah, okay, so this is one way that I could have done it. I could have definitely rigged up the camera straps on this photographer in that exact way. And I think that they would have behaved a little bit better. And not only that, I would have had a little bit of control over it as well. There would be nothing stopping us from applying wind dynamics to this. Maybe we'll just give that a quick go. I don't know how this will go, but we'll switch on bone dynamics, wind. Maybe we'll just turn the wind way down. Let's see. Remove those bottom keyframes. Yeah, not quite. Like, it's not really working too great. And I think that's just because of the rotation. We could put like another control bone that is parented to this, and that would react to the wind. But that's kind of what we're going to look at in this next little example. So what I actually wound up doing is I reached out to Victor Paredes, and I think I always butcher that name. But yeah, Victor's great. He was on the Moho Discord. I saw him demo this exact file on one of his live webinars, and he didn't fully explain it. He kind of sort of showed off what you could do, but he didn't exactly show how to set it up. So I played around a lot. I think I figured it out, and then I posted it onto the Discord, and Victor was kind enough to share the file with me. This was months and months and months ago, but I thought that it is definitely worth showing off because this is awesome. So what I'm going to do is hit play on this, and yeah, even just hiding the bones, you can see that we've got this cool snake-like rope. Maybe we'll just end this at frame 120 just so that I can loop this while I'm chatting away ideas. Yeah, cool snake-like rope. It's pretty elasticy. It doesn't have to be this elasticy. You have a lot of control over this. But the key takeaway is that one end of it is all you need to control it. and the other end is stuck to something else, which again, I think this would have been perfect for a camera strap. You could use this for a character's tail. You could use it for chains dangling from a ceiling, or like a really sort of wiry robotic character with heaps of cords and stuff dangling off of him. I think this is really awesome, and there are not a lot of YouTube videos out there that kind of go over how to set up ropes, at least not this way. So let's dive into what Victor actually did to set this up. Now, straight off the bat, using the bind points tool, we can see that this bone is bound at this point, this bone's bound at that point, so on and so forth. And if we quickly look at the parenting of these bones, we'll select the bone layer. Let's make sure that's back in the middle and press P for parent. We can see that this bone that points is bound to is parented to this control bone that's sticking out over the other side. Now the control bones have no strength. So this one's strength is to 0, but the bone that has the bind points is a bone strength of 1. And finally, we'll switch back to P again. We've got this flat one down the bottom, so we can move this if we want, but we don't really have to. And then finally, we've got this bone at the very top. It's got a bone strength of 1, and I'm pretty sure that's bound as well. Just double check. No, it's not bound. It's just got a bone strength of 1. Maybe it's meant to be bound. I'm not sure. But the idea is that, yeah, at any time, like let's go to frame 96 here. I can grab that, move it over here. It looks really stiff right now. Maybe we'll also move it back there. But you can see that the other bones react to it. So how is this working? How has he actually set this up? Well, if we select this top bone, we can see that the name of it is main. Let's open up the bone constraints menu. No bone constraints applied to this. But if we go down to the second bone, we can see that it is following the position of the main bone at around 80% horizontal and 80% vertical, but with a delay of 3 frames. So what that means is that every time I move this bone, this next control bone is going to follow that position, but it's going to be a little slower. It's not going to follow it 100% of the way. It's only going to follow it 80% of the way. And it's going to have a delay of 3 frames before it does anything. And what do we know is parented to this bone? This bone to the left, which has the point from the stroke bound to it. If we go down a little bit further, we can see that same thing's happening again, but this time it's only following about 60% of the way with a delay of 8 frames. And the next one is a 30% delay with a delay of 12 frames. So I'm saying like just random numbers here. This is actually 35, but these don't have to be specific numbers. This will be very dependent on whatever you're building. The key takeaway is that he's kind of broken these up into like a lot of influence, about half influence, and only a little bit of influence. And yeah, I mean, I think that is an extremely elegant solution in how to get ropes moving around and sort of doing exactly what you want them to do while still having a little bit of control. So finally, we'll just hide that layer and maybe we'll quickly give it a go. So I've prepared a stroke here. It's only got these 2 points in the middle just to sort of save on time. Let's group this and convert it to a bone layer. Great. And now we'll draw some bones. So we'll have this one at the bottom. We'll have, let's quickly see the points. Yeah, roughly there. So we'll have one bone out here, one bone out here, and one bone at the top. Now let's make sure that all of these are not parented to each other. And yeah, we'll leave their bone strength where it is. And then finally, I'll just select this bone. We'll add a new bone off to the side of that. Great, we'll select this bone. And we'll add a new bone off to the side of that and just double check the parenting. So see, they're parented backwards now. So what we need to do is sort of click out of that. We'll select this bone, click out of that, and then P for parent that way. Cool. Finally, we'll select those, drop their bone strength, and let's call this one I know because main is already taken, we'll call this one top. And what we need to do is we'll make sure that using the bind points, maybe I'll just quickly move this one down a bit so it's a little bit more in line. Great, we use bind points. We'll select a point. Sorry, we'll select a bone, and using bind points, we'll select that point and hit enter. So now that's got this little green fill with a red box around it. That means that it's bound to that bone. Let's select this bone, select bind points, hit enter. Great, so they're bound. And maybe just for safe measure, I might actually do the exact same thing to this one. And why not? Let's keep things neat and tidy here. We'll do the others. Great. So straight off the bat, you can see that, yeah, nothing's really happening. Like, at least we've got these control bones working. They're stuck to their points and everything can sort of move where you need it to move to, which is really, really great. So maybe what we could try doing is let's actually see, I've never done this before. Let's see if we can do this in reverse. So we'll call this base. And let's have this bone follow base, but at about, let's just go about 75 maybe. 75 with a 3-frame delay. And then we'll make this one follow base at about maybe what, 30, 35 with let's go let's just try an 8-frame delay, see what happens. Great, so if we come to frame 1, move it to there, maybe at frame 48, make it swing over here, frame 96, make it swing over there, and sort of come to a halt. Pretty rough, but there we go. So now, yeah, pretty slowly, but we're actually getting that delay. So yeah, you could do things like swinging ropes and stuff like that with this. Definitely a pretty cool solution. And at any time, we could maybe just say, oh, well, I want this rope to sort of start up there. And yeah, I know that was a little bit long-winded, but I definitely felt like it was something worth going over. Now, speaking of delays, I want to come back to the skateboard character here, and let's talk about something to do with the rigging of this skateboard. So yeah, I showed this off a little bit earlier, but basically this skateboard, it's got its own bone, the whole board is attached to it, and we can see that it's also, yeah, the control bone for his foot. The way that I'm sort of rotating the skateboard is by doing this. And honestly, I didn't really like the way that it turned out because the board is very static. I could move it around at like any point if I wanted to sort of get a bit of warble, but it feels kind of weird to do it that way because then, you know, I've got to constantly think about where the skateboarder's weight is, just sort of make it look realistic. And yeah, it's just kind of not how something realistically works. So let's quickly start up a new file here. And I'm just going to, we'll maybe use this. I'm just going to turn off the stroke for that. And we'll make the color of this kind of blue. Great. And just for clarity's sake, and just sort of move them over to the side so that we got this sort of skateboard kind of thing. And then we'll just create one more vector layer, put a big circle up here, and we'll just turn off the stroke for that, and we'll make this one, I don't know, purple. So yeah, essentially what we're looking at here is this ball is our skateboarder, and this is our skateboard. So let's select these two, group them with selection, and then convert them to a bone layer. And we're going to make probably a couple of bones. We'll have a root bone coming out from the skateboarder's hips, I suppose. And we'll just have a bone going up from there. And then, yeah, finally, we'll just make a bone for this skateboard down the bottom. Great. Now, maybe we could probably unparent that for now. And we'll just set all the bone strength down pretty low. But what we'll do is we'll select the skateboarder and this top bone, and we'll go link bones. So now that just means that whenever I move this bone around, oops, I might need to increase the strength just a little bit. Yay, he moves. And then finally, we'll select this bone, select everything in that layer, and go link bones, and just increase the strength. Oops, ever so slightly. Cool, so he's attached there, this is attached there, and this can move skateboarder's hips. So I think you probably know where this is going, but regardless, what we're going to do is we'll select this, we'll call this bone root, and then we'll select this one down here, and we're going to make the position follow root. Now, this is vertical, so we're going to set that to 0. I mean, you could probably leave it, actually, because, yeah, I'm not really going to have him going up and down, but for your case, you might have him going up and down. And let's just give it something like a 4-frame delay and just sort of see where that gets us. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So on frame 1, we'll have this start here, maybe on a second away. It'll move all the way over there. And on this one, it's going to move all the way over there. Cool. And now we're kind of getting the effect that we want. We'll move him like really fast and zip him around and stuff like that. And then come back to a halt. So yeah, if I press play on this, you can see that the skateboarder's hips are kind of controlling the weight of where the skateboard goes, which is kind of like how skateboards kind of work in real life. You sort of move your hips or the direction that you're trying to go in, and your legs and the board essentially are going to follow. And I just think that this would have been a much more elegant way for me to rig up the skateboard. Wouldn't really have to think about his legs and the board or anything at all at that point. All I'd have to be doing is moving the character's root bone, and everything would just sort of flow around really naturally. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is don't skimp out on that delay option in the bone dynamics menu. It's definitely your friend. It can really sort of help you set things up that you can basically just set and forget, and then everything just sort of flows and looks like you put a lot of work into it when you really haven't. Okay, that's going to wrap this one today. It's probably a little bit shorter than the others, but make sure that you stay tuned for part 3 of this series, because yeah, in the next one we're going to be looking at a 360-degree rig, which I think is it's very simple the way that it's demonstrated, but I think that it's going to be extremely useful, and it's something that I'm going to be using from here on out whenever I rig up a character. Hit the like if you like, and if you don't, tell me why. Please subscribe, check me out on Patreon, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.